A tale of two Alcos on this episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. Hello again, this is Mike with another episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. I recently purchased two of Lionel's RS3 models. Interestingly, it was two different purchases of two very different models, but for roughly the same purchase price of around $25. For one model, I think the price was right. For the other, I got a pretty good bargain. I've always had a soft spot for Alco's RS3 and similar-looking RS2 road switchers. The rounded edges give the model a less industrial appearance than the earlier RS1 models, and the rounded cab and the long hood are more reminiscent of a trusty hound dog than a locomotive. And locomotive crews generally appreciated the Alco's lugging power and robust GE electrical system. Around 1,800 total RS2s and RS3s were built between 1950 and 1956, and many were still serving on Class I railroads some 20 years later, significantly outliving their cab unit stablemates, the FA line. Some RS2s and RS3s survive on short line and tourist operations even today. Lionel did not introduce a model of the RS3 until 1988, likely because the traditional open-frame motor was too wide to fit into the model's narrow hood. Instead, most Lionel RS3s sport two can motors, each self-contained within the locomotive trucks, leaving a great deal of empty real estate above the frame for the electronic components, if required. Each power truck features two rubber traction tires on one side and twin roller pickups, for a total of 4 pickups and 4 traction tires per model. The first Lionel RS3s were the 18803 Santa Fe and 18804 Sioux Line models in 1988. These were quickly followed by the 18805 Union Pacific, the 18809 Susquehanna in 1989, the 18807 Lehigh Valley in 1990, and the 18814 Delaware and Hudson in 1991. Most RS3s ride on a sheet metal frame with sheet metal handrails, much like a traditional Lionel GP7 model, and most feature an electronic 3-position reverse unit. Most models come with 3 factory-installed light bulbs, one on each of the ends and another in the cab. The cab bulb is prone to overheating and causing damage to the cab roof. At just over 2 pounds, these models are a bit on the light side, but they are smooth runners. And then there are my models. The first RS3 I purchased was this number 1802 Heavy Duty Construction RS3 from the uncatalogued number 721902 Heavy Duty Construction set from 1999. This uncatalogued set was targeted at the bottom-end beginner market for mass merchandisers. The set included 3 basic yellow gondolas, signs, construction loads, a crane, 2 vehicles, a book of blueprints to build your own layout details, and a cheapened RS3 model. How cheap? Well, how about a single motor? How about forward-only operation? How about a plastic frame and handrails? How about a single light bulb and an unpainted shell so thin that the entire short hood glows from the illumination of a single grain of wheat bulb? I knew this model was basic, but I didn't know how basic it truly was. But for only $25, I was willing to take a chance and add an RS3 to my fleet. Putting the diesel on the layout, it experienced power outages at every turnout, requiring me to run at Mach 2 in order to pass through these turnouts without stalling. Looking at the trucks, I saw center rail pickups on both trucks, so I figured the electrical issue was the lack of a ground pickup on the unpowered truck, especially since the plastic frame prevents the usual use of the frame as a common ground. Cosmetically, the model was okay, except for a broken handrail at one end. This did not bother me too much, as I figured I could come up with some solution in time. So I disassembled the model to check out the innards. Remove 4 screws that hold the shell in place. The first obvious item is the simple bridge rectifier that converts the AC input power to DC for the single motor. For now, I'm leaving the model with forward-only operation. The easy way to add reverse would be just to remove the rectifier and run the diesel on DC power only, reversing the model just like a traditional HO or N-scale model. Or I could add an aftermarket reverse unit later, which would cost $40 to $60 for a model that cost me $25. Then, looking at the unpowered truck, I saw no wires whatsoever, meaning that there was not only no outside rail contact from this end, but the center rail pickups were simply along for the ride and contributed nothing toward powering the model. Fortunately, this was an easy fix. I removed the horseshoe clip that holds the unpowered truck in place, and this gave me easier access to the wheels and the pickups. I cut a strip of sheet brass to fit on the side of the truck and to make contact with the metal wheels. I grabbed a red and a black stranded wire, stranded because it's more flexible and less likely to disconnect with the motion of the truck. I chose red and black. I would have preferred red and white at the time, but I was out of white wire. But even this was a mistake altogether. You see, red and white, or red and black in this case, usually imply polarity in the circuit, red for the hot or positive, and white, or black in this case, for negative. But this part of the circuit is AC current with no polarity. And so Lionel's standard wiring scheme in this case is yellow for the center rail and blue for the outer rails. The result of my mistake is when the wires attached to the bridge rectifier, there's a mismatch with red to yellow and black to blue, and red and white wires heading to the motor and light bulb. It does work, but it may cause confusion later on if I need to do any repairs. In any case, I soldered the black wire to my brass strip before I glued it in place on the truck. Then I added a red wire to the copper strip for the center rail pickups. I actually removed the rollers because I thought it would be easier to work with the copper strip with the rollers off. While this was true, I found the process of replacing the rollers to be very frustrating, so I would not do it again unless I have no other option. With these new wires soldered to the appropriate leads on the bridge rectifier, the unpowered truck was now ready to add both hot and ground power to the motor and reduce, or hopefully completely eliminate, power loss on the turnouts and crossings. I'd like to pause just a moment and ask that if you're enjoying the video so far, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment about your experience with Lionel RS3s. And if you want to stay up to date about new O-gauge products from Lionel, Atlas, MTH, Menards, and more, follow the link at the end of this video and visit the new What's New in O-gauge channel. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you never miss an update. Now, back to the video. Then I took a look at the traction tires. They both seemed to be structurally sound, but periods of slipping made the tires very smooth and likely not very good at providing traction. I decided to freshen these tires up a bit by adding a coat of bullfrog snot to them. I applied a coat all the way around each of the tired wheels and then applied power and let the motor run in place for several hours until the product was even, set, and became clear. I also took advantage of this inverted position to add a small amount of plastic-safe lithium grease to the gears, allowing it to spread through the gear train as the motor continued to turn. After this was finished, I ran the model frame-only around the layout. I experimented by adding different amounts of weight, and I found that 8 ounces was kind of the sweet spot, where it would improve traction significantly, but not be too much weight for that single motor. Then I sent the shell of the model over to the paint booth for redecoration into my Freelance Railroads colors and focused my attention on the second model. While I paid about the same for this model, it would normally be worth significantly more. This model was a victim of a very poor eBay listing. The lone photograph was extremely dark and out of focus, and I think the item description was written by an AI app because it described the model as a DC-powered HO scale model by Atlas. Still, I thought I would take a chance, and it worked out well for me. Most RS3s sell in the $100 and up range. While Lionel did make a Susquehanna RS3, this one is not it, as the color scheme and the cab number are different than the Lionel version. This is a custom decorated model, and a very well done model at that. There is only a small bit of decal sheen on the cab numbers that give away that it's a non-factory finish. This is a standard conventional control RS3 with 2 motors and an electronic 3-position reverse unit. More recent editions of the RS3 have included Lion Chief control. To remove the shell, this model has a screw on each end attaching it to the metal frame, whereas the cheaper model used 4 screws that were invisibly secured to the shell underneath. Once the shell is removed, you will immediately notice the difference under the hood: twin motors, 3 light bulbs, and an electronic reverse unit. I purchased this unit with the intent of repainting it, but the previous owner did such a nice job that I've decided to keep it as is, at least for now. So with just a little dusting and lubrication, this model was ready for the layout. Meanwhile, I had completed the painting on the other RS3 and it was time for decoration. The white letters and numbers on the black portions of the model are vinyl pieces cut out with the family Cricut machine, as seen in previous videos. The black logos on the ends are inkjet printed designs, also seen in previous videos. With the shell painted and lettered, I could work on finding the necessary space for that 8 ounces of weight I needed. I used these 1/4 ounce wheel weights that I got from Amazon, reinforcing their own adhesive material with hot glue when necessary. Similar weights are also available at a reasonable price from Harbor Freight, and that just left the handrails on the cheaper model. My first idea was to find and order a replacement part, but I was unable to find a diagram for this particular design, nor could I find any such replacement part. My next idea was to fashion my own replacements out of wire, but after several attempts, I was not at all satisfied with the look. Then I came up with the idea of 3D printing replacement handrails. I successfully found a part on Thingiverse that I was able to modify for the design, and it should work, but then my printer went down. The extruder died, and so the handrails are on hold until my printer is back in operation. And I didn't see the need to hold the video indefinitely just for this one missing part. And now, except for the broken handrails, I have a pair of good-looking and great-running RS3s for less than the usual price of a single model. With a few easy modifications, the cheap, heavy-duty construction model makes a nice companion to its twin-motored mate, and they operate very well together. This is just one example of how, with a little bit of work, we can turn those bargain lemons into great models. So keep your eyes open for bargains and keep the trains running, and we'll catch you next time with more toy train tips and tricks.